welcome to the experience. This is Ray Mernagh, MBEbasketball.com. It's our weekly podcast that we do throughout the season. And tonight we're very lucky to have Marquette coach Buzz Williams joining us. Buzz, how you doing today? Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm grateful that you would even ask us to be on. I'm doing good. Thank you.
I've been looking forward to this, Buzz. I really have. It's been a great start for you guys. You're 9-0 right now. You've had, like all teams do, you've had some injuries hit you lately. What's that outlook like? How are the kids doing who have gotten hurt?
Well, Chris O'Toole was hurt in the first 2 minutes of our game last Tuesday at the Garden. We got back Wednesday morning about 4, and we were off on Wednesday. We practiced on Thursday, and Juan Anderson tore up his shoulder, and then we practiced on Friday, and Jamil Wilson sprained his ankle. None of those 3 guys played on Saturday in our game against Green Bay. Chris nor Juan will participate in any team activities until after Christmas. Jamil should be back sometime later this week. We're in finals this week, so our schedule is out of whack, but he will probably be able to practice by Wednesday, so he'll be able to join us on Saturday in our game against Northern Colorado. Then we have 2 games next week at LSU and then at home against University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. So Juan and Chris specifically, we're waiting on the swelling in his knee to subside and trying to increase the strength back to the level that it was, and then hopefully after Christmas be able to make a decision sometime in a week or 2 after Christmas to determine where he's at, if he can play the rest of the year, or what we need to do at that point. I anticipate, Ray, that Juan will be able, hopefully, to be back after Christmas. I don't know that he'll be full strength after Christmas, but hopefully maybe at least sometime after the first week of conference play. But just like anything else, with injuries, they're all subjective to how each individual's body responds, and we'll just kind of have to see. Both those guys are in rehab twice a day, and we'll see how it plays out over the next 10 or 12 days.
Hey, could you talk about Chris, Buzz? I mean, he might be a kid that's improved more than any kid I've watched come into your program over the past 3-4 years. Can you talk about him and just his work ethic and what he means to the guys on your team and you specifically, just having a kid like that in your program?
Well, I wish, Ray, that I was a better coach, and I wish that I was more mature because I think Chris would be a lot better player. I'm just hell-bent on, I believe that the hardest lesson in life to learn is how hard you have to work just to have a chance. Not that it ensures success, but I think that it gives you an opportunity for it. And Chris has bought into that. I have been more vile and temperamental and volatile with Chris than any other player that I've coached. He and I are extremely close, as I am with Junior Dugan, and both of those guys' practice habits, work ethic, their lifestyle off the floor is exactly what you would want from a high major student athlete. And I think statistically, when you look at Chris, you look at his numbers and you go, yeah, we can eat up those minutes and we can eat up those stats, but you can't. And that's because of the presence that he gives us, particularly defensively, but even offensively. He allows a lot of lanes for driving. He allows a lot of opportunities for guards to get offensive rebounds because he's fighting with his man. And so I don't think that his impact on our team, winning or losing, shows up in the box score maybe as little as any player I've been around in my career. And I'm just so proud of how he has grown, his development. He's overcome unbelievable things in his life just to be at this point. And so selfishly, yes, we want him to play because he's an important guy in what we're doing. But humanistically, we want him to play because he's earned the right to play and to be in this position to have success. And so that's why we're being very delicate with injury and how we respond publicly to his injury, because he's deserving of that. And, as I told the doctor when we met with him on Wednesday, the doctor is going through all of the medicine vocabulary that you would anticipate. And I said, hey, Doc, cut all that out. And this is a guy that's been a team doctor at Marquette a lot longer than I have. I said, I don't want to hear any of that. This is my son. So now let's talk about what's best for his life. What's best for his life. And then let's talk about what's best for his career. And, he had broke both feet in the time that he's been here, and now he has the injury with his knee. And so we're just hoping and praying that it'll all work out, and that we have some sort of peace on where to go, January the 1st, what's best for Chris. And his development has been unbelievable when you really look back at where he was when he started and where he is today.
Without a doubt. Speaking about, coaching guys hard, Buzz, is there a point when guys first come into the program where you kind of measure that and try to figure out what a guy can take, and maybe, try to figure out when to pull back or when to go hard, or do you just go full bore on everybody and see who can handle it?
Yeah, I think that probably goes back to how I answered that question about Chris.
Yeah.
I think if I was more mature and was concerned about my longevity, I probably would coach a little different. I just think that you have to try to win every day in life, and that's not just game day. That's not just day before. That's in July. That's in October, and I try. I think our staff has really helped me better understand myself as a head coach. I am hard on our guys, and I have incredible relationships with those guys off the floor. Otherwise, I couldn't coach them the way that I do on the floor. And I think sometimes that's probably publicly what is missed in this whole scenario is you can't coach those guys the way we coach them. And those kids respond in their effort and their hustle the way that they do, unless you have incredibly trusting relationships off the floor. And I think younger in my days and earlier in my career, I think at times as an assistant coach, I did a fairly decent job recruiting. And I think the older I have gotten, I have progressively worsened as a recruiter, because I don't spend a lot of time, Ray, talking to kids and their families and their coaches about Marquette, the positive attributes that our institution has, the Big East, playing at the Bradley Center, playing on TV as much as we do. I never bring that stuff up. And I know that those are important factors to some people. But I kind of cut through all of that because I want to get to know the kid. And I want to get to know what he's about and what his soul is and what his heart's about. Because those are the things that are going to be impacted on a daily basis relative to our culture. And as I tell our kids when we're recruiting them, and I tell them even once they get here, how we go about things is not for everyone. That does not mean that we're right. It doesn't mean that we're wrong. It's just not for everybody. And I tell our coaches the same thing. This is not the right place to work for everybody, just because of how we go about things. And so I think if I was more mature, there would probably be some give and take relative to how hard we go and how hard I go with them. But that's I wish I could say that genuinely, like, yeah, we're going to go soft today and we're just going to do a lot of dummy offense today and a lot of shooting. We don't do that. If we're going to work, we're going to work, and we're going to do that every day. And that's just what I believe. I believe that in my life, and I believe that in my personal and professional life. And so relative to the people I'm in charge of stewarding, I'm going to coach them the same way.
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. And again, that's not saying it's the right way or the wrong way. It's just, and not even in an arrogant manner. I don't coach those guys arrogantly.
Right.
Guys, this is just how we do it, and that's the way it is. I wish I could change, but I can't change because in my heart, not what I believe in. So this is how we go about things.
Well, it's certainly, you guys have had a lot of success doing it that way. Going into Wisconsin, getting that win, it was a tempo that your guys probably don't like to play at a whole lot, but you really controlled that game, and I don't think I've seen a more impressive win. Maybe this weekend with Kentucky getting beat, but that was a great win. Can you talk about that and maybe what it meant for the growth of your team?
Well, I just have the utmost respect for Coach Ryan, and I know maybe in this region, particularly in this state, the coaches at Marquette and Wisconsin are not supposed to get along, and I have the utmost respect for Coach Ryan and who he is as a person and what he does as a teacher. And you look at his path, and I stand at attention and respect for what he's been able to accomplish at each of his stops. And it's not, you're right, Ray, in what you said. The preparation that it takes to be prepared to have a chance to beat Wisconsin is mind-numbing. And you look at their record over the last 10 and a half years, they've lost 11 games at the Kohl Center.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that. And it's incredibly hard. They have great support. And probably what's not said enough, because Coach Ryan is such a good coach, is they have really good players.
Yep.
And it's hard to compete against really good players with the distinct style of play that they have. And you can bend, just like any opponent, you want to bend them towards how you want to play. And so, especially with the Badgers, you got to bend them towards your style, but you're not going to break them to your style. They were literally per possession, they were the slowest team in Division I when we played them.
Right.
And we're relatively fast when we want to be. And so it was definitely a change of pace. Our preparation by our coaches was outstanding. And I thought our guys' ability to absorb the scouting report was great, but the ability to execute it on the road was what gave us a chance.
Hey, can you talk about Vander, just what he did in that game? I mean, going back there, that could have been a tough load for any kid to shoulder as far as expectations and pressure with his history being from there and some of the things that went on. What about his performance that day? And did he grow a whole bunch just that day? Not, I know he's a good person and he's grown a lot since he's been at Marquette, but just as a player, he made some plays down the stretch that really jumped out at me. And I'm just wondering, what you might have to say about his performance at Wisconsin.
Yeah, he was outstanding. And I've said this before, and again, it may be short-sightedness on my part as a coach, but I believe that your game progresses at the same rate you mature as a human. I think they run parallel to one another. And parallel sometimes can be negative, sometimes it can be in a positive direction. And I think that when you think back to all of the things that Vander has been through prior to his arrival at Marquette, and even during his tenure last year, he's continued to grow, he's continued to mature, and as he's matured, as has his game. And I thought a lot of that maturity was able to be revealed in a very hostile environment at the Kohl Center. So his effort has always been outstanding. He's arguably the most competitive kid I've ever been around. He has an aura about him when he competes that is really rare, and that is probably his best skill. And I think that his actual skills have really improved over the last year, but it's the culmination of his growth as a person just as much as it is as a player.
I was wondering if you could share, I know we were texting earlier in the year, and you had mentioned something that Jon Gruden had told you about a player's development. Could you share that with us?
Yeah. Coach Gruden has been really good to me. As a kid, I grew up admiring him, trying to set my alarm at 3:17 like him, and have worked the last year and a half or so to really build a good relationship with him to the point that he and I talk relatively often now. And one of the things that he taught me, and I probably have more friends that are football coaches in the NFL or in college than I do basketball coaches. And one of the things that he taught me is that from a fiscal perspective in the NFL, they always make decisions on those guys financially going into and at the completion of their second year of their contract. And his thought process to me was he always felt like you can't always count on your first year guys, and if you're any good, you're always going to be able to count on your more experienced guys. And so the swing vote is always going to be those second year guys. And so he said the last 3 years that he was with the Bucks that he would always go into preparation for the upcoming season knowing that statistically all of his second year guys needed to improve by 25%. And that if he was able to improve that grouping of guys by 25%, that vote would be enough in the case that his experienced guys were good, that would be enough to make them a playoff team. And so he spent a larger amount of time from a technical standpoint, from a teaching standpoint with those second-year guys. And I thought that was critical. You know, when you look at our roster, you start talking about guys like Vander, you start talking about guys, Jay Crowder, Devontae Gardner, you start thinking about the guys that are in their second year of playing. Jamil Wilson is technically a freshman relative to playing, as is Todd Mayo and Derek Wilson and Juan Anderson. But our second-year guys, that's half our roster. You know, Jamel Jones, Vander Blue, Devontae Gardner, Jay Crowder, the guys that we need them to be 25% better. And I thought that was extremely wise. And so I've really tried to utilize that and really tried to concentrate on that. And I think at times you can see that within how our guys are playing.
Hey, the win over Washington in New York, Jay hits a 3-pointer, 6 seconds left. Was that a play? Was that coming out of the huddle, or what? Did you draw that up?
Yeah, it's it's a philosophical deal. Some coaches have different feelings on how they would want to handle that, but Coach Romar called a timeout. There was 23 seconds to go. We were up 1. Washington ball sideline out of bounds. And so I told our guys they're going to take the first best shot they can take so that they can lengthen the game.
Right.
They're not going to hold it and go for 1. They're going to hurry up and try to score. When they score, if they score, we're pushing it at them, and we're going to run this particular play that we run out of secondary. Because philosophically for me, Ray, as a coach, I don't want to play against a set defense. I want to play against a live defense.
Right.
And, you know, there's different thoughts on, from a time and score element, when do you call a timeout, and on what side of the ball do you call a timeout? And from an offensive standpoint, I always want to play against a live defense. And then Jay scored out of the play. Our guys executed it great. But then when we scored, there were 6 seconds left. And so, conversely, if I want to play against a live defense, you could argue I should have called timeout immediately after Jay scored because there were still 6 seconds left. But for me, that's always a scout-specific answer. Some coaches believe it regardless of opponent, regardless of venue. And maybe I will as I grow older, but within that particular game, within what I studied, I did not want to call a timeout, and I explained that to our guys. So in the last timeout of the game, guys, Washington's going to do this. This is what we're going to try to do offensively. When we score, this is what we're going to do defensively. And that 22-second span of time, other than letting Washington score, it was a 8-foot bank shot. I thought our guys executed really well.
So that's pretty interesting. Like you go specifically off of the team you're playing and what you garnered in those kind of situations. That's how you'll play it. Because, like you said, a lot of coaches just have a set way they do everything, no matter what.
Yeah, and a lot of factors come into that. Even you mentioned the Kentucky game on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's a philosophical deal. They shoot a free throw to go up. They only have 5 team fouls. Do you want to foul? Do you want to call a timeout to set your defense and foul? Or since you're at the free throw line, do you want to shoot the free throw, let them inbound the ball, then you foul? Because if you foul then, it's a spot throw in.
Right.
So again, there's so many variables involved. What's the time? What's the score? How much time? I think it's how much time is left. If Washington scores, there's 16 seconds left. Obviously, Coach Romar didn't believe that he should call a timeout. The same thing when we scored. He didn't call a timeout with 6 seconds left to play. So he believed, in essence, I don't know if it's a set thing that he believes, or maybe it was a scout specific. He wanted to play against a scrambled defense for us.
Right.
When we were on defense. So, there's so many things that go into preparation, and you never know of all the things that you study and of all the things that keep you awake at night, if any of them are ever even going to come to fruition in a game. But that's, and you have to be cautious about how much of that stuff you're going to give your kids, and maybe more important, when are you going to give it to your kids? They call the timeout, we're up 1, and I'm like, hey guys, we got to lock in right here because this is the game.
Right.
And it's not just the game relative to if they score. We're going to go through the whole deal right here.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it too, Ray, it comes down to how you practice. Do you practice late game situations against a set defense, or do you practice late game situations against a live defense? So I think all of that is philosophical in regards to what you believe, but I also think that has to come to light in your practice itineraries as well.
Hey, Darius Johnson, Odom, and Jay, how has their leadership kind of influenced? Because I noticed these young guys now, Todd Mayo, Derek Wilson, Juan Anderson before he got hurt. Juan Anderson was big in the Wisconsin game. Now it kept a few balls alive, offensive rebounds. How have they influenced and maybe speeded up those kids' development where they're to the point where they can help you already 9 games in?
I think they've been outstanding, Ray. And you look at the guys since we've been here. Jimmy Butler was a 3-year guy. That's the guy. Jimmy and Joe Fultz, who was often injured as a senior. Those were the 2 guys that have been in the program the longest. And so now you look, here we are in year number 4. Darius is the only one that's been here 3 years.
Right.
Chris has been here 3 years, but he's been hurt.
Right.
Junior, in essence, was hurt his freshman year. So guys that from the start up until now, who's been with you the longest, who's had the most practice time? Well, last year that was Jimmy and Joe. This year that's Darius. And Jay is the most instinctive guy I've ever coached in my career. And so he and I connected long before he ever got here. He never visited Marquette. There was no recruiting in Jay other than me building a relationship with him. But Jay and DJ have just been superb in their daily leadership with our young guys.
Hey, so coming up here, I mean, you're at a stretch. Your guys are in finals. You've got some time to rest for the guys that are hurt. Hopefully, all 3 of them can come back at some point, God willing. What comes up? What do you do this week? Do you let the guys just focus on studies until Thursday or Friday, or do you go every day? What's the plan for that?
I told our guys today, we played Saturday. We were off yesterday. Obviously, there was a lot of preparation going into needing a day off from school and a day off from basketball to get ready for what's upcoming this week. And I told our guys today, we practiced today with 8 guys, and I told our guys today, I said, man, I really wish I could do something for you other than pray for you, but I was never smart enough to get admitted into Marquette. And so I can't really understand the stress level you're going through, but hang in there. And this time next week you won't be in school, and we'll have a month off, and we can concentrate on growing as a team. But it's a delicate balance. I think at an institution like ours, it's not your typical state institution, and so the work that goes into finals week is incredibly important to your success or lack thereof. And so we were off yesterday. We went today. We'll be off tomorrow. We'll do some really good individual work on Wednesday, and then we'll have practice Thursday late afternoon. And by that time, 85% of the finals are over, and what's left are some guys that have a test on Friday. So it's kind of a hard week, and you have to manage it the best way you can in a lot of different ways. It's an opportune time for some of us to get out on the road and see some guys. I went recruiting yesterday, and so I'm going to go recruiting tomorrow, and I'm going to go recruiting on Wednesday, and so it allows us all to kind of get our bearings straight. But we don't have a lot of time to get back. We play Saturday, we play Monday at LSU, and then we play next Thursday at home, and then we'll have the weekend off for Christmas, and then we play the top 10 team in Vanderbilt at home. So
right,
and then it's Villanova at Georgetown, out Syracuse versus Louisville. So welcome to the league.
Yeah, then the easy part starts.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
exactly.
Hey, I promised you 20. We've gone over that. I got one last question for you, if you'll hear me out on it. Okay. I know how hard to coach at the Division I level is, but I also know how you feel about it. How lucky are you, in your mind, to be in the position you're in?
Very undeserving. Very undeserving. The people that I talk to the most and that I have the strongest relationships with are either football coaches or retired basketball coaches, preferably 65 and over. Guys like Eddie Sutton, guys like George Raveling, Murray Arnold, guys that, for whatever reason, throughout my career as a coach, have been unbelievably kind to me. And, you think about all the guys that are in our industry that have done incredible things and have done it for a long period of time and have fought and scratched at the most peculiar schools that have a hyphen or a direction in their name of the institution they're employed at. Those are the guys that I respect the most, and those are the guys that, for whatever reason, maybe have not had their chance. And so, I got my chance at 33, and 365 days later resigned, and with complete public ridicule from all of the media pundits, and not knowing if I would ever have a chance again. And then to have a chance at a place like this with the tradition and the history and the support, it's way more than anything that I deserve. And I don't know that any level of success that we will have here, whatever that would be, would ever earn me the right to say that I was deserving of that chance, because there's so many really good coaches, so many guys that have worked and worked and worked to have a chance. And you think about all the guys that coach that have never played on TV, that have played in gyms with less than 500 people in the stands, and those are the guys that are coaches. Those are the real ball coaches. Some of the things we're doing, the podcast and the Twitter and the blog, and that's just so much sensationalism that sometimes you lose the value of what being a real ball coach is. And so I'm not deserving of this, and I don't know how long it'll last, but if it lasts one more day, it was 1,344 days longer than it should have lasted, because I'm grateful for the chance, but God is the only one that could offer a story such as mine.
Hey, that's very well said. You're doing a heck of a job, Buzz, and thank you.
I appreciate that, pal.
Hey, thanks so much for doing this with us. We'll talk to you
Good
soon.
talking to you.
Yes, sir.
Take care, Bob.
Bye bye.